Hey, good evening, good evening. These are wishes and blessings from the east, right here on the purple sofa in the middle of Gurgaon somewhere. And of course, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world. It is 1800 hours and it is time to just rock and roll. And before I do, let me first welcome lots and lots of people. Oh, Selena, I see, look, a regular. Vansh, good to know that you're in. So many people already in. Yes, a wave to you as well. Sriram, good to know that you're in. And of course, as you all come up, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Well, this evening in India, because this is where it is. Annie D just gets absolutely real in season 2. And today, my guest, what can I say? Renowned music producer, Rishi Rich. And let me tell you, blogger Avid, well, hello to you. And let me tell you, sir, that I am pretty excited. And I'll tell you why. Because Rishi Rich is a name that I have actually grown up on. Even though this guy is younger than I am. How he managed to do this, I don't know. But I have grown up listening to like Hira and Apna Sangeet and, and all these people. And then suddenly we get Rishi Rich on the scene. And that was it. And I don't think I heard much more after that. So I'm pretty excited to have him here. And all of you are on as well, which is really good. And I feel that I haven't actually moved off this sofa. And I've been talking since yesterday, haven't I? But I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same people that were here yesterday when I was interviewing the director, Anubhav Sinha, could also be here today. Rashi, good to know that you're in. Woo-hoo! We've got the London crowd coming in. So let's see if Rishi is in, because I don't think you want to hear much more of me. No, I don't think so. So let's see if my man is in, and I think he just may be. So let's see. Hi, Rashi. Hi, Mohammed. Hi, Radhika. Good to know that you're in as well. So connection as usual. Hey, Rishi, how are you?
Hi, Annie.
How's it going?
Good. Yeah, it's good. Just enjoying I can't say enjoying the outside because, as you know, I've been locked up in this room for the last 6 months,
Yeah, but listen,
5 months.
Rishi. But is it that different? Because usually you spend a lot of your time in your studio anyway. Is it much different than your normal
Um,
routine?
no, it's not. I've always said this that producers, we're trained for lockdown because I think I spent most of my life in the studio in a room like
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is it. So I feel that you're at one with your setting, and I don't expect to see you anywhere else, to be honest.
Yeah.
Honestly. But listen, Rishi, I have to say, admire your work. You mean you are recognized for being the pioneer of urban desi music, the underground, the British Asian underground scene. And everybody, absolutely everybody, knows your work. And this is funny. And when I say everybody, I'm not just talking about Indians in the UK. I'm talking about Indians in India. I'm talking about Britney Spears. I'm talking about Mystique, Mary J. Blige. But you know what? Everyone knows you. Everyone knows your work. But why is it that we actually don't? Because we never really see you much. We never really saw you much in the UK, but we heard you.
Mm.
How does that even work? How is that possible? How come we don't see you in front of the camera that much?
It's firstly I wanted to ask, can you actually hear and see me? Because you're cutting out.
I can.
I'm not sure. Yeah, okay.
Oh no.
Um,
Yeah.
um, I think it's something which I have always you know, I've always liked to be behind the scenes. I've never
Yeah.
kind of I'm not that kind of producer, who likes to be in front of the camera. Even doing
Oh,
interviews and stuff like that. I've only, I've
I'm
done it.
honored.
I've obviously done interviews and stuff like that. But I've, uh, I actually planned the fact that I wanted to kind of build up my brand and my name.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the most important thing for me is to
Yeah.
is to build up the brand. And like you said, like my name around the world, people know they don't really know sometimes what I look like and stuff like that,
Yes.
which is totally fine. Because at the end of the day, it is about my music. It's
Yeah.
something which I've always wanted to kind of push, be the forefront. Is my music,
Yeah.
is my brand, and obviously working with new artists. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just been like that, and I like that mystery as well. I like
Oh,
I've been in conversation with people that they know my music and they don't really know that it's me,
Yeah.
you know. So
This is
it's quite
it.
fun.
Listen, you can walk
Yeah,
into a bar and you can just talk to someone and you can talk about music, and somebody would say, "What would you know about music?" Because they haven't seen you, but your work speaks for your, for itself.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
but listen, if have I understood this correct? You started off life as a runner boy between studios. Is that correct?
No, not as a runner boy. I started basically. I was working with, um, when I was 13, 14 years old. I got the
Yeah.
opportunity to play keyboards on an album with a group called with Executive and Bad Company in London.
Oh my,
And
yeah,
yeah, and it was Sanjay Sanj and Amit
yeah,
from Executive and Bad Company, and they wanted me to play keyboards on one of their songs. Actually, it was with Bremy, I think it was. I think it was with Bremy, and I got to play keyboards.
yeah. Yeah,
And that's what that was my first time in the studio. And then I started to work in the studio when I was 15, with Pankaj
yeah,
Jetwa, who was part of the Jets Orchestra. So yeah, I
yeah.
basically I learned a lot of things growing up in and around the studio, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. No, I mean, how does a boy, though, at 12, 13, get that opportunity? Because I don't remember seeing that on any job center, when the time that you could actually walk into a job center. I don't remember any job like that. Was it just somebody you knew? Is that what it was? Because they knew you, you knew somebody? Is that how it worked out? Or was it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
out the blue?
No, it was through people that I knew. My
Okay.
best friend is Amit Chana, and
Yeah.
he was friends with Sanjay Sanj,
Yeah.
and we all kind of met. Uh, we from West London. I got introduced to them, and that's how it really works. You just meet people, and they introduce you to people. So I was lucky enough to meet the right people. I think at a very young age,
Yeah. So
who who are
yeah.
still friends, who are still Sanj is still like he's like like a big brother to me. Even though I haven't seen him for a few years because I haven't been back to London
Yeah.
properly, but it's it's always been that with me, that I've always had those guiding forces to kind of get me
Mm,
to A to B, then B to C. That
yeah.
I've always had that.
Yeah. Well, Rashi from London is saying, give a shout out for West London. So
West
she
London,
wants.
yes, yes. I'm a true West. Even though I was born in South London,
Oh.
but I grew up in Harrow, and yeah, I'm such a Harrow boy.
Hey, look.
And I love it.
Hey, look, you're talking to a Southall girl because I was born and brought up in Southall. So that's where I grew up. And I remember there was a time where at that time, you could only be a lawyer, a doctor, or a dentist. So how
Yeah,
is it that you got into music? What did your parents think about this? You're 12, 13, you're doing this. Did they take it seriously? Did they accept it?
yeah. I mean, I think my mum, because I grew up with my mum, so my mum kind
Yeah,
of noticed that I had a passion for music. So she bought me like
yeah.
a keyboard when I was young, when I was three,
Wow.
4 years old, and she kept on getting me like bigger keyboards, Casio, Yamaha keyboards. So it was a case of she knew, and I told her that I really love, I love music and I want to learn music. And then when I actually moved to Harrow, she enrolled me in Khalsa College
Yeah.
in Harrow. So I was learning like Indian classical music. Um, and at that time, which I think happens even now, like a lot of my friends wanted to be DJs, so they would,
Yeah.
so my mom would buy me a keyboard, where their parents would be buying them like Technics turntables, So
Wow. I
I
love
was
your
just
mum.
in and around music. Yeah,
I love your mum already. I'm loving her thoughts. So she's
yeah,
obviously very progressive. She saw something that many other people probably didn't, very
yeah,
early on. Now, you signed up pretty early with Balisagu, didn't you? Did
yes.
you produce your first record with him?
I didn't produce my first record. My first record actually was produced with um, Audio Rec and Pankaj, which was Too Cool, and Don D.
Yeah.
So this was the group I was in with Don
Oh,
D
yeah.
and Pankaj, and I did, from the age of 18, I did, a few, well, not a few, I did around 10 to 12 albums, which were
Yeah.
Hindi remixes, Love to Love,
Yeah.
Love to Love series, the Pure Garage series. Bali I actually met very, I wouldn't say later on down the line, but before I mean, with Bali Sagoo, it was my first solo album, which was Simply Rich, and that was
Ooh,
before
okay.
I'd worked on
Yeah.
Dance With You, anything like that. So I think where Bali came into it and
Mm.
where his company comes into it was my first
Mm.
solo album was done through Ishq. Yeah,
Mm. But there's a lot of his traits that I see in your music. I mean, I have to say, I love Simply Rich. You know,
thank
especially
you.
with the Nay Gina and Nay Tera or this that. I mean, these are one of
Yeah,
my favorite tracks. We are still playing those. I mean, they're like evergreen. And I said this with H, that the thing about, you know, music in the UK, you know, you put so much effort, they really do last for a long time. They're not your fly by night songs.
yeah,
And I have to say, you did a fantastic job. Would you
thank
say
you.
that then Balisagu in a way was your mentor in a way? Because some of those sounds are pretty similar. It's like you inherited his genes and like
Oh, um, I mean, I think I wouldn't say he was my mentor because, I grew up on a certain sound, but definitely 100% Bali Sagoo, Apache Indian, these two
yeah,
figures for me were, I was growing up in school and I loved what Bali was doing
yeah,
with his remixes, with, combining reggae and, Qawwali and Punjabi and stuff like that. And Apache Indian, obviously, for a breakthrough artist that he was. So,
oh yeah,
I I
definitely,
think with him and people like Taz from Stereo Nation, I remember. I think
yeah,
if anyone really influenced me out of at that time, it was probably Taz, and it was when he was
mm,
Johnny Z when Hit the Deck
yeah,
came out. I think
yeah.
that
No,
was a very big influence to me. Yeah,
yeah, no, I have to say, even your, but then of course, you came out with another album. Was it called a project?
yes.
And I remember listening to I'm listening to those tunes, but I see they're slightly different from your from Simply Rich. It's almost like you've progressed. Do you think you were a different person when you did the project compared to Simply Rich? Because the sounds you were braver. I think the sounds were braver. They were funkier. You had you mixed two different sounds. You had Juggy D, you had
Yeah.
Jay Sean, different sounds. One's slightly more traditional, one's a bit, contemporary. So do you think you're a different person doing that album?
Oh yeah. Totally. Project is something which I mean, all my work I've done, I'm so proud of. But I think project
Yeah,
is something which I'm very proud of because up till now, I still get people saying, "What an album!" And
yeah,
and even I listened to the project album, and I was telling someone recently on an interview that I listened to the album, and I was like, "My God, what was I going through when I was producing that?"
yeah,
Because and that's really me. The project album is very much me as a person, as even now what I'm doing, which is
yeah,
very that 100% fusion, not scared to
yeah,
experiment. And
yeah,
it was such a great album to do because I love the confusion of people on people's face when they hear my music, because
yeah,
they just sometimes just don't get it, and it just really does go over people's heads, and then years later, people just like, wow, we love that song,
yeah,
So that's the whole thing about fusion and just being experimental with music. I think I've always tried to not just fit in a box of what's going on,
yeah,
or and just experiment with music, because I think that for music, as being a music producer, I'm
yeah,
allowed to kind of really produce what I want to produce. It's I've got
yeah.
no rules. So and yeah, so it's I project album is definitely one of my favorites. Yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely. Because you got, what I see from your tracks, they're like different. Like some people, some artists, they've got the same kind of thing going through, and you recognize something. But I love I love your variety in
yeah,
your songs. You can
thank you.
see it coming in. But when all this was happening, like I've seen though, the Indians outside, we seem to be more of a community. Did you think when you were coming up on the scene? Do you think it was easier then because we had fewer stars or fewer people in the playground doing music? Was it easier, you
um
think, then?
well, no, I wouldn't say it's easy. I mean, when I first started to work in the industry, we didn't have
Hmm.
any social media, we didn't have any
Hmm.
streaming, we didn't have anything like that. Everything was
Hmm.
physical sales. Um, and I think it was very much a case of you had to do a lot more face to face, very street marketing. Everything was a bit different. Obviously, times were
Yeah.
different, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's easy. I think it's always been, and it always will be, a hard struggle, and you just have to adapt with what the times are. Like
Yeah.
I was saying to actually Jay the other day, that how funny is that we went into the mainstream charts with Dance with You, Eyes on You, Stolen, and that was
Mm.
without any streaming. It was physical sales.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a hard thing to do at that point, being Indian, doing music
Yeah.
which is not completely pop music in the UK. So it's a case of it's I think if anything now it's still very hard for artists, but the reach I think is easier.
Mm.
Like
Is greater.
you can get your music out to a lot more people now.
Mm. Yeah, so, but this is it then. So, I mean, do you think then, because of social media, because of more exposure, do you think that the music scene has changed a bit, or a lot, in fact, in terms of, I guess, the beats, the sounds, the kind of sounds that are coming in globally? Do you think the scene has changed?
Yeah, I think what's happened is people's mindset and ears have opened up to different kinds of music, because uh,
Yeah,
every genre of music is accessible very easily right now. If
yeah.
you want to hear an artist from Africa or from South Africa or
Mm,
from Brazil, you can just search them, or you can search a playlist and you can get inspired. So I
mm,
think the art of fusion is there is no limits now. You can take samples from different cultures and you can try and mix things. So, I think it's very much a broad kind of it's a it's a big playing field out there to kind of really experiment
mm.
with your music now.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, even though you've got the reach with social media, I just feel that new entrants have got a lot more competition now. You can get out there, but it's difficult, I think, now to maintain somebody's interest if you're new. You're
Yeah,
established, you were in there, and I think maybe that one-to-one where you had to have that face-to-face kind of contact, I think it brought you closer to the community as well. So I think maybe that's where we all had the advantage. But
yeah,
you have gone on. You've launched some of the biggest names. I've mentioned before. You've launched Jay Sean. You've launched Juggy D.
yeah.
Mumsy Stranger. I mean, how did that actually happen? I mean, were they friends of yours as well, or did they just come to you? How did that just work out, or did you know them? You said, "Oh, mate, let's come together. Let's do this thing. Let's make some music."
Yeah, it was. I mean, every artist that I've worked with and the artists that you've mentioned, they've been introduced to me via friends. Whether it was Jay or Juggy. Mumsy, I actually met him because I was a judge at a talent contest in Birmingham, and he was one of the artists who was taking part,
Hmm.
and that's how I really met Mumsy. So, every artist, I think, obviously you kind of get you introduced through friends, and you kind
Yeah.
of take it from there. And I've had an amazing experience working and developing and finding. I think that's a real it's always been a beautiful thing to me to kind of meet an artist, develop an artist, and see an artist grow and go on and have success. And
Hmm.
I love that, and I think that's something which I still am challenging,
Hmm.
and I'm still searching. There's so many artists that I love working with who are new.
But I want to know how this works. I need to know the detail because it's always confused me. Okay, so I know. So forgive me for being really daft. So when somebody comes to you and say, when you're known as a producer. So what actually happens? An artist say comes to you. They say, I have these lyrics. Do they have a tune, or do you have the tune and they have the lyrics? How does this work?
I mean, it really depends. Sometimes I've worked with artists who just have amazing voices,
Yeah.
and then myself, and I have a team who we compose, the melody. We'll bring in a lyric writer. It all depends. If it's Hindi, then we'll bring in a lyric writer. In London, we were writing a lot of our own music, our own songs. Sometimes a singer comes and he or she has the song ready.
All
She
right.
has
Okay.
they have the song, they have the composition, they have the lyrics, and they just
Yeah.
need music, and that's how we work. It really, really depends. It's very different
Yeah.
for every artist.
So for any artist for an artist that with the many that you've worked with so far, which is the one that you think you really share a beat with, that you think your music is really similar to?
Um, I don't really have a one go-to artist.
Yeah.
I think I every artist that I have a different relationship, and an artist brings out a different production in me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's that marriage between a singer and a producer which is so important. And I have great relationships with every artist I work with because they inspire me to make different kinds of music. And
Yeah.
especially if the artist is very open-minded to kind of let their vocals be
Yeah.
heard on music which is experimental. So yeah, I don't really have I think all the artists that I do work with and currently work with and have worked with, and especially with the songs which have, it's not even the well-known songs. There's songs that, especially like you mentioned the project, there's songs on there that are very so experimental, which it was the artist that was giving me that
Mm.
inspiration.
Oh, wow. Loving this stuff. But now, okay, so now UK is done. Now you're in Mumbai, aren't you? I mean, what made you take that decision to move over? I'm in Gurgaon now. I came here 10 years ago, but what made you come over?
Um, it was I obviously being brought up in London. I actually moved to America. I was learning under my mentor Teddy Riley in America, so I was there, and then I had this opportunity for a friend of mine, Mohit Suri, who's a director here in
Yeah.
Mumbai, and he was working on a film called Half Girlfriend. So I actually met Mohit in New York, and he was like, "Why don't you come to India to work on the song?" He'd liked one of the songs I'd worked on, which ended up being Mere Dil Mein.
Mm.
Um, and I was like, you know what, I'll come to Mumbai to work on the song because I think I'll be inspired to work on it. And I
Mm.
didn't really plan to come here more than 2 3 months. And
Yeah.
I loved the vibe.
Yeah.
When I got here, I met some great artists. I know that one of my artists that I work with, Yash Navika, was on here a little
Yeah.
while ago. So, I decided to stay. It was literally that. And by staying, I met a lot of people. I started to work on some really interesting films once I was
Yeah.
here. So, and I can, it wasn't just about working on film music. I started to work with a lot of independent artists. Obviously, now setting up the label.
Yeah.
Um, it was just a decision I made that I wanted to stay here.
No, I have to say that. So when I came 10 years ago, and I remember putting on that radio, and I had come, you come from Southall because I also work for Sunrise Radio as well. So you're always
Yeah,
playing those solo hits. They're only songs. They're not necessarily attached to movies. So you're used to listening to artists. You're used to listening to Bhangra. But when I came here, I didn't hear that type of music. It's only where I think 4 or 5 years down the line, suddenly I heard Imran Khan on the radio, and I almost like, with amplifier, and we've been listening to this for years
yeah,
in the
yeah.
UK, and suddenly I turn on the radio, and it's supposed to be this new thing that's come in. I almost fell off my chair when I heard that. So, do you think now the music scene has merged in the UK and India? Because it was different. I remember this.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it has. You know, I love the fact that if you're in India, if you're working on film stuff, I mean, this is coming from me personally, um, that I don't really have to change my music too much now because I think, as you said, music now is so at one, that you can work on experimental music, you can do stuff, and I
Mm.
love the fact that India's always paid a big homage to UK music.
Yeah.
It always has looked at it like, the music that's coming out of UK, and the producers that have come out of there and the
Mm.
artists have always been very different, and I think
Yeah.
that's something which has always been an advantage to me because people have always showed me that respect, especially being here. That, wow, we
Yeah.
love your sound. That's a big compliment I always get, that we love your sound. You've got the sound which a lot of people can't really do here, but
Yeah.
because you do it, because you are from London, you are from West London, your Hounslows, your Southalls,
Yeah.
Harrow, I have that certain sound.
Yeah. No, no, I have to say now, I'll tell you what, I was actually chatting to somebody, before we came on, and we were discussing about the fact, so because it's, the Indian music scene in the UK is pretty close knit. So when we heard your track on Hum Tum, so all of us got really excited in the UK because we thought it was one of us. It was, it was always like this community. Oh no, oh my God, we've made it. We've made it
Yeah,
to Bollywood. So it's like this community thing going on, even though we haven't seen you, we're not related, but it's like one of us
yeah.
going out there and making it. So it really actually got us excited. And that was the kind of, this is what we were chatting about and remembering. But do you feel that the audience is slightly different though in India compared to the UK? The people that you're making
Of
music for?
course. Of course, I think every industry or country, the audience will be different, you know. But I think there's an underlining respect for music, and I think that's what's
Yeah.
most important. You know,
Hmm.
I think as a music producer and someone who's in the music business, you have to learn to adapt for the audience you're working with and
Yeah.
working for. And you know, as long as you can do that, there's no reason to kind of change the way you make music or change your sound. But you might have to,
Hmm.
you know, like I said, work with different singers. You know, work with
Yeah.
singers who are based in India. And that's something which I think really enjoyed doing, like having my music over, you know, working with artists and singers who are from here, because they add a different element and a different spin. And I think that's where that uniqueness comes from.
You know, Rishi, you say this, and it's a fantastic idea. And you practice what you preach. In fact, I think all these guys in the UK music scene do this. You have a lot of collaborations, and they're fantastic. I love the way you guys come together. But I was talking to H, you know, on a previous interview, and
Yeah.
there is a bit of a difference in terms of collaborations. Like, I don't in India, I don't expect like a Sonu Nigam to sing with an Arjit Singh. I don't expect Badshah possibly to sing with, you know, I know, an Atif Aslam. But I don't see the collab stuff happening here. Isn't
Mm.
this where we differ in the UK and India?
Yeah,
Isn't
I
that?
think so. I totally agree with you there. I think here, you know, I don't know what it is, and I can't really answer that. But one thing I
Yeah,
know that in the UK, that the artists in UK, whether the Punjabi artists or the pop, you know, the Brit pop artists or the, you know, Hindi artists, everyone has so much love for each other, you know,
yeah,
and you can see that how much, you know, like I'm a very much, you know, I'm a fan of people. Like, I love to say to people, why don't you work together, you know? And
yeah,
I haven't seen much of that here. I don't know why, but I know that, you know, you in UK, and especially UK artists, you always see singers coming together, you know,
hmm,
even if they might be very close, like singing the same kind of music, you know, songs, or have the same, all from the same genre. But in UK, I did find it so easy and very, people are more acceptable to collaboration there. You know, I do
yeah.
agree with you there. Yeah.
I mean, DJ Sohail, he says it's all about ego here. And, you know, he wishes it would happen here as well. But do you
Mm,
think it's a long time in coming? Like, you've been here now, what, since 2017? Am I
yes.
correct? Or something like that?
2000, 2016. Yeah.
Yeah, but is it easier to work with you as a foreigner than it is to work with a fellow Indian, do you think, for people from here? Because you know, you have worked with other artists, you've done
Mm.
other artists here. So is it easier for them to work with you because you're not part of that main scene in India? You weren't brought up here.
Um, I don't know really. I mean, I think everyone. I mean, there are people. I wouldn't say everyone's not really open to collaborations, because I've collaborated with artists here all the time, and I just think it's, you know, my school of thought has always been about collaboration, because I'm a
Yeah.
producer. You know, I haven't done any. I can't do I can't do a song on my own. You know, that's the
Hmm.
thing. I'm a producer, so I've always
Don't
worked
say
with
that.
artists. No, but if you know what I mean, like I can't.
Yeah, no, I get
My
it.
I'm half the piece of the puzzle. You know, it's
Yeah.
me, and then it's an artist, and it's always been that. And that's the producer's job, is to work with artists. So I'm programmed to collaborate. You know,
Yeah.
that's something which I always do. And if I find the right artist, and if I get a vibe with the artist, I'm all for it. You know, so I've I'm always open to working with artists, as long as they're talented, really.
Yeah, well, you know, before I move on, there's Beard Dentist asking what speakers you use at home. Is there anything that could you enlighten him? He wants to know what
Um,
speakers you use.
in my studio, I use Yamaha HS5, and I have KRKs, and I have Genelecs as well.
Well, there you go, Beard Dentist. I
Yeah.
think I recognize you from London as well. But anyway, so carrying on, you know, talking about, the vibe and working with people. So Bollywood, what happened? Did Bollywood come to you or did you come to Bollywood? I mean, look, you've worked with, you've done Namaste England, you did Gully Boy, you've done Humdin, and this is just a few of the movies that you've done. So how did it come to you? Did you pursue it, or did they come to you and say, Rishi, I know you, I like your stuff?
Yeah. Humtum actually was, a friend of mine, Avtar, worked for Yash Raj Films
Yeah,
in London.
yeah,
And we, off the back of everything that we were doing in UK,
Yeah.
Humtum, he actually approached me and said, look, we would love you to do a song for Humtum, and that's what we did. So that really came to us.
Mm.
But I actually made that move to come to India because I wanted to pursue. Obviously, after, like I said before earlier, after working on Half Girlfriend, I realized
Yeah.
that people loved Humtum and people loved what I was doing, and
Yeah.
it wasn't as if the door was wide open for me to kind of work on
Yeah.
whatever I wanted to do. I still work. Um, I'm in Mumbai. I'm in this scene, but I am working on it because I did Humtum. I think it really kind of opened people's eyes up to my sound,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so but still, as a producer here working on films, it's always going to be challenging because you're up against so much great talent here and producers. So I just tend to just do what I do, and if it goes for film, if people want it, if it gets picked up for film, then that's great. My focus is just to make music, and the
Yeah.
fact is I'm in Mumbai making it, but next year I might
Yeah.
be somewhere else. So it's
Yeah.
a case of I just want to just be making music and just see where it goes. And like you said, Gully Boy and things like that. These are films which I've been so proud to be associated with. But I had
Yeah.
no, I didn't plan to work on these films. These films were just,
Yeah.
I'd met people who were working on the films, and I had worked on music which suited the film.
Yeah. So how does so you know what? Currently, you were working. Your current project was Bad Boy Billionaire, but obviously there was an issue. I guess with the movie coming out.
Yeah,
So how did that? Because now that's the OTT platform. Did that come to you as well?
yeah,
What kind of
that,
music? Because obviously, I'm not sure if you're ever going to hear it. What kind of
yeah. I
music
mean,
went into that?
well, yeah. I mean, hopefully that will come out. I don't really know too much about it. They've kept everything under wraps, so I can't really
Yeah.
say too much. But Reva, who's a friend of mine from UK, she works. She's working on that project. She worked on that
Yeah.
project, and they literally approached me and they wanted me to do the music, and I did the title music for it. So if it ever does come out, you'll hear it in the opening
Yeah.
and closing of each episode. So, and I can't
Oh.
wait for things like that to come out. And
Yeah.
I've been working on a few um, streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon and people like that,
Yeah.
and series and music for some new series that are coming out. So, yeah, you just like you said, you never know. You just make
I
music and you
can't
just
wait.
see. Hopefully, yeah. Same here. I can't wait for people to hear it.
Yeah, no, fantastic stuff. So, when you're doing a song, when you're doing a track, right? Do you know at the beginning whether it's going to be a hit or not? Do you get an inkling?
I wish I did. But no, I mean, the thing is that I don't know for with other people, but I can't I can't make music thinking I'm gonna make a hit, or
Yeah.
I've made a banger today, or I've made a
Oh,
hit. It's just
that's a
you
rubbish
know
one. Yeah.
it's I think music is a beautiful thing. You've just got it's a creation. You have to create music, and you know um
Yeah.
you never know what's gonna happen with it. I honestly saying this, I make music because I really love to make music, and I love to explore new talent. I love to
Yeah.
help new talent. I love to
Yeah.
push out music which is very which is different. And if it connects with people, great. If it doesn't, still great. Because for me, I've put that music out. It had to come out of my system, out of my
Yeah.
studio to kind of get out there. So, I've always been like that. All the music that has worked for me, I never expected it to work. I don't have any expectations on music that I make. I
Mm.
think you've just got to let it. Once you make the music, you've got to be brave enough to let it just go out to the world and
As
just
long
see
as you
what
feel
happens.
better. As long as you feel
Yeah.
better about it once you've done
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I think so because I think because then that's where ego comes in.
Yeah.
It's I've I'm a true believer of just enjoy that craft, enjoy your craft, enjoy making music.
Yeah.
Um, your a lot of your personality does shine through your music.
Yeah.
And I believe that, and I feel with especially with my music, my music is very much it's sometimes crazy, it's sometimes mellow, it's sometimes dark, it's soulful. That's all part of my personality, and I just
Yeah.
I love the feeling of when I have a release date or when I know my music is going to be out there. Like if a song is
Mm.
coming out tomorrow and I've worked on it, I love kind of that sleepless night to kind of see what people think of it because it's that's the whole point of making music. You want it to go out to the world, you know.
Yeah, no, this is true. And you have, I mean, you've worked with some of the biggest stars in India, for example. You've worked with Badshah. I mean, how on earth? I mean, what was that like, or working with that guy?
It was great. You know, I worked with Bacha, someone that I kind of got to know when I was here. I worked with him on Mubaraka, on
Yeah,
Namaste England, and these artists when I met Bacha, he's so very respectful. But I've worked with. I never look at an artist as, oh my God, this artist is done so much, because I feel that I've been on my journey. I've been doing what I'm doing. I look at
mm,
every artist with the same respect, you know, whether they
yeah,
are just a new artist coming to audition or an artist who has been very successful. And I think once an artist walks into a studio, that's it. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter if you're new, successful. You're in a room you're creating music. Everything goes out the window in terms of
yeah.
ego, everything like that. You're here to make music. So um, I I go on really on respect and warmth and how an artist behaves. So that for me is the most important thing. And I've been lucky enough to work with some amazing artists, and new artists. I'm always learning, and it's always very special to get that respect back as well.
No, brilliant.
Especially from artists that you've looked up to, who actually, who've grown up on your music. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been really enjoyable working with, especially my time in India at the moment, working with so many different variety of artists.
Yeah. So if I had to ask you, you're in India. In fact, Rashi has asked the question. So one of your listeners here in India, I'm not going to say in England, but in India, who is probably your favorite artist that you've worked with? Because you've also worked with some young blood, haven't you? I mean, you've done this
Yeah,
song with Yash Raj Mehra as well, and and that's just
yeah.
one of them. So who would you say in India that you vibe with the most?
Um, an artist that I've worked with, that I've met, who's from here, definitely someone. I think Yash Navikar is someone
Yeah.
who he's like he's one of my he's like my younger brother, but an artist that I completely click with musically.
Yeah.
And I love working with him. He's one of my favorites for sure.
Right. So do we see a lot more work with him then? So it's
Oh
not just
yeah,
this song for the
yeah,
pandemic
for
for the
sure.
Mumbaikars.
Yeah, I mean, we did Mere Dil Mein. He's gone on and done some amazing work, and we've got some great music lined up that we worked on together. So,
Ooh,
and so yeah, I mean, I hope we can get our music out there very soon. But
yeah.
like you said, he's an artist that really I enjoy working with him a lot.
Yeah, oh, good. Because I just hope he listens to this and he appreciates that as well. Oh
Yes,
my God. So,
yeah,
I mean, so what happens? Do they, because they're young, right? So we can't, I'm not going to say you're old as I am, but, I'm way older than you. But if I, so this younger lot, how do they know about you? I mean, do they just pick up the phone and say, hey, Rishi, I heard about you, love your stuff? Or have you had to go through them? Is it the same stuff? Somebody knows somebody. Is that how
yeah.
you got in touch
I
with Yash Raj?
But with Yash, you mean with
Yeah,
Navikar?
yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
Yash was every like I said, every artist is introduced to I meet in
Through
different
somebody.
ways. Yeah, through
Yeah,
somebody, and I think if artists want to work with me, they have to go through the right channels, and I hear their music, but there's no certain way, there's no one fixed way of meeting artists or
yeah.
an artist getting to
So,
work with me. It's all different.
so if you give me your address and I walk right past you and say, "Oh, hi," so we could be making music at some point. So that's how it works.
You never
I could
know.
just work.
I, I mean, I've met
Awful
people
voice.
once being out, and I think the classic line is, "I can sing. I would
Yeah,
love to do some work with you," and I get that every day. I get messages like
yeah,
that every day. But that's fine. Like if you get a message and say, I want to work
yeah,
with you. I'm a great singer, but I would love to hear some music. Send me your
yeah,
voice, send me a sample of your voice, and I think that's
yeah,
where it kind of starts from. If you want to work with someone, if I've ever wanted to
yeah.
work with someone, I don't just say I'm a music producer. I'm like, here's listen to my music, and
Right. Okay.
I think that's how it kind of works.
Right. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, because I'm sure the people who are going to listen to this, and if they want to kind of work with you, so what they need to have ready? They need to have a demo tape ready. What
Yeah,
else do they need to do?
yeah. I mean,
What are
I
you
think
looking for in an artist?
firstly, I always, with an artist, I always look obviously for their talent. So if people send me their work, that's the first thing I will hear,
Yeah.
and then we go from there. But it all depends. I think things have changed now where artists have started to build up their own fan base, and once they've got a great fan base going, you
Yeah.
genuinely do hear about them through other people, and things like Instagram are probably the perfect way for artists to build up their fan base. Get
Yeah.
do cover versions and send that link out to people. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. A lot of new artists are doing.
Yeah, so a lot of people asking me here, right? There's some messages coming on my side. They want to know when your next album is coming out. I mean, I want
Yeah,
to know what next sound you're experimenting with. I mean, are you allowed to tell me, or
yeah. I
what?
mean, I think a lot of people, who are fans of my music, especially who followed me, know that I have an album, which I finished, and at some point it's out of my hands. Sometimes, I've had an album which is finished, and I'm just waiting for the right time for me to be told of when it's going to come out. So, it's one of those things where, the album
Soon?
is ready. Hopefully, touch wood, it will be coming out soon. I don't know when. Hopefully, yeah,
Oh,
soon.
there
But,
you go.
like I said, with the new label, Break the Noise,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I'm putting out music once a month. I've been putting out music, and so that's where people can enjoy kind of listening to new
Yeah.
singles and working with new artists.
Right. So it'd be more with new artists, not your usual, not your London guys, not the
Both,
big
both.
names. Oh,
Yeah,
both. It'll
both.
be a mixture.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Being like it has been so far. Working with new artists. I'm be working with artists that I've worked with. I
Oh,
think it's
interesting.
yeah. So it's gonna be quite interesting
Ooh.
the next few months. The next
Oh,
few singles are gonna
fantastic.
be very interesting. Yeah.
Oh, can't wait for that. Now, listen, it seems as if you're living the dream. You've got your own studio, you're not going to a job, this is the image that we get. You wake up at your own time, you're doing what you really love, and that's what's making you money. And it's your dream job. But is it as easy or glamorous as it seems?
Mm, no, actually, it's not. I mean, if people go on my Instagram, it's funny because I did a podcast talking about the exact same thing that what you just mentioned. I mean, it's not the case. I think, if anything, I mean, I can only talk from a personal point of view, but for me, this is a job. Music is
Yeah,
my job. It's my I would say 9 to 5, but depending on your hours. I
yeah.
don't really get up when I want. I get up at 6 every morning.
Wow.
I'm in the studio. I work. I've been doing this since I've never had a job in that sense. Music
Yeah,
has been my job, and it's something which I personally am very disciplined. I don't
yeah,
take it I don't take it very lightly. Like, this is what I do, um, and I treat it like this is my work. This is my job. So that's why it's always been like that. I
mm,
love that, but the best thing is that I love my job. I love what I do, but
yeah.
I have to, from a business side, it's always been that. It's always been a case of, like, I don't take it for granted. I come into the studio, I make my music, and I work with artists and work on things that I want to work with. But ultimately, I have a lot of respect for the fact that it is a job. It's something where it's not,
Mm.
it's never been a glamorous thing for me. I
Yeah,
think people get sidetracked, and that's what I was saying, that a lot of artists, a lot of musicians portray a life that is very glamorous, which is fine, I think. But I'm the kind of person that, I just portray what it is. I'm in the studio all the time, and it's a very kind of simple life. It's not glamorous, and it's never been that. But it's it's enjoyable when you're working on your work is something that you genuinely love.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know.
but have you ever woken up one day and thought, you know what, I just can't do this anymore?
Of course, I think everyone, as every single person I know, I'm sure, has, it's no one really has that perfect life. You always have a little bit of doubt. I have woken up sometimes thinking, what, I can't be working on music, and that's fine to be like that. That's fine to
Yeah,
feel that. And I think, when that happens to me, I stop. I
yeah,
don't work. I stop. I do other things.
yeah.
I do have a life outside music as well. Like
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
friends. I have friends that I see. I like reading. I
Mm,
watch different kinds of programs. I love watching things about law. So
yeah,
I stop. I literally stop, and I don't work. It's very hard for me to work if I'm not inspired, and
yeah,
so I think you have to find that inspiration, and
yeah,
and sometimes you have to accept the fact that you can't always be creative.
yeah.
And
Okay.
then you shouldn't put that. I've never put that pressure on myself of, you've got, like, I never look at what anyone else is doing, or if there's competition or stuff, because I think it can really play with your mind. I think
Yeah.
you've just got to enjoy your music, and work on it sincerely,
Mm,
and yeah, and if you're not feeling up to, if you don't feel too good, then just stop and take a break. I think
yeah.
that's very important.
And I
I
guess
normally,
regroup.
yeah, regroup and recharge. I think that's very important. I have some great rules that I've applied to my life, which is, I don't really, this myth of, producers who work up until 6, 7 in the morning, which is great, but I'm not that kind of producer. I work up until a certain
Yeah.
time, and then I love going out. When that obviously reopens, but I've always been that. I love to go out, listen to music, socialize.
Mm,
Weekends, Sundays, I don't work at all. Sundays is the day where it's very peaceful. It's my day. That one day
yeah.
that I just kind of, I don't even listen to music. I just kind of do different things, and I've always been that.
Mm. Yeah, see, this is why people are coming to you because it means they get a day off. They get a guy who says, you know what, go away, go eat, go enjoy yourself. That's why
Of
they want to
course,
come and work with you.
of course, yeah, yeah, of course.
Oh, fun. Where do you think, though? Where do you think Indian music is going? And I'll tell you why. Because yes, we've heard the songs. Yes, we've heard the Bollywood movie songs, and solo artists. But I was watching this OTT, obviously this web series, and it was a Canadian one. And I heard
Mm.
the sitar, the whole theme, the whole music was the sitar and the tabla. I mean, is this where Indian music is going now? So I'm not sure if are we reversing? Where we're trying to become contemporary in
Mm.
India and we're progressing. Yeah, when you see all these web series that they're going back to basics with a sitar and your traditional kind of instruments. Where do you think
Yeah.
Indian music is going now?
Um, I mean, I can't really answer. I think that's just one show, whatever the show
Yeah,
is, but I think that's just one show that's portraying, that, and maybe it suits the show, it suits the characters of the show. I think there's Indian music will always be, it's always been there, it'll always be there. And
yes,
I think it's just, a parallel to that. Yes, you might have a show that just has a sitar and tabla, but then you have a show which has a lot
yeah,
more. It's always going to be that. And I think, as long
yeah,
as, for someone like myself who loves to fly the flag of being a UK British Asian working in
yes,
Mumbai, and that's something where, that's where I can challenge, myself to kind of, that's where I want to fly the flag. That's where I want
yeah,
to make sure the music goes out there. So I guess everyone's doing their bit just to make sure that the music is just accessible and heard on different things, whether it's film, whether it's, web
yeah,
series. So yeah, I don't think it's going backwards in that sense. I think it's just
yeah.
it's one portrayal of
Spreading.
what Indian music, which Indian music is, that, this sitar and
Yeah,
tabla is a beautiful sounding instruments that we have in our culture.
yeah. Yeah, no, lovely stuff. I mean, this is the funny thing. So, Indian music came to us in London, to our community, and suddenly we are now coming to India to bring it all back again, kind of adapted and kind of tweaked,
Mm.
which is really kind of doing the rage. It's brilliant stuff. Now, you've already mentioned. Now, before we go, somebody has asked, Rishi, if you weren't doing music, what else would you think of doing?
Um, Good question, and I think probably would have been a lawyer.
All right, okay.
I still want to start. I love criminal law, and it's
Hmm.
something which I genuinely really like, and I think I think I probably would have gone into, some aspect of law,
Yeah.
because I don't know why. I think I just love everything about law, especially criminal law. So yeah,
Yeah. All right.
yeah,
Well, you'll be watching The Good Fight and The Good Wife. That
I
means
love
that's all
love those
damages.
programs. Damages, Shark,
Yeah, fantastic.
yeah, love those programs.
You're so being inspired. Okay, fair enough. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? Rishi, thank you so much. You've been absolutely fantastic. And honestly, I never ever one day thought that I'd be talking to you. I'd only ever heard your music. I never ever visualized that I'd be talking to you. And I have to say, it's been an absolute honor. I've
Oh, thank you
admired
so
your
much.
work. And I have loved the way that you've dealt with your work, you've addressed your work, the way that you work with people. And I hope that message goes out, comes out in India. And I hope it inspires many people, because I think that collaboration, that community, the relationship needs to
Yeah,
be there. And because I
yeah,
think, as you said, we learn from each other.
yes,
Otherwise, we're just separate pieces.
yeah,
And we've seen your work, and we've seen what happens when different artists come together with different sounds. It is amazing. And and thank you so much for giving us those
no,
tracks.
thank you so much, Annie. I really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely keep in touch. And with some new, well, I've got new release coming up actually this month, which I think you're gonna love. So
Oh yeah.
I'll get you some exclusive clips on that soon.
Oh, thank you so much. That would be just
Yeah,
wonderful. But, fantastic stuff. Now, listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in. It has been a bit difficult because you've got UK and India, but I know
yeah,
what happens. Everybody tunes in, right after. So I'm so glad this is saved on my IGTV. So, listeners, if you did miss a part of this and you've just come in too late, you can see it on my Instagram on IGTV. Failing that, you will see Rishi Rich on my website on annied.in, because it will be uploaded there. And you can also see him on my YouTube channel, if that's where you're at, if that takes your fancy on,
okay.
in
I
conversation
think
with
I've got
Annie
to
D.
answer this. I've got to answer this question by my brother Isan.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Yeah, who's an amazing musician. How pressurized are you to stick to the current music trends? What's up,
Ooh,
brother? Good question. I think I've always been. I think as a producer, I've always been that kind of person who, you know, I've built a sound. I've built a sound which, when I look at people like producers like Pharrell and Dr. Dre, and even going to
yeah.
people like R.D. Berman, it's their sound. So I think what I've tried to do personally as a producer is keep my sound but adapt to what's going on. And
Yeah.
I think a very much a very a thing which I've learned is that by working with new artists, you tend to kind of you adapt to this new kind of sound anyway.
Yeah.
Because then the artist brings a new element to your music. So that's something that
Yeah.
I've always done, listening to new music. And but I don't think it's ever been pressure from me, but
Yeah.
I've always seen it as just to keep up with what's currently happening, but to kind of fuse that with your own stamp,
Yeah.
your own
Loving that.
stamp of music.
The
Yeah.
Rishi Rich stamp.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
loving it, loving it. So you know what, guys, you just wait up for Rishi's new work, new album, and hopefully, Rishi, I'm relying on you to send me some of your stuff exclusive so I can have a listen in and a
I
scoop
will.
before. That'll be lovely. Well, thank you so much, Rishi. Lovely that you could take some time out today, and you've
Thank you
made
so
some
much.
people very happy. And I hope to hear you soon.
Thank you so
So.
much, Annie, and thank you to everyone who joined in, and yeah, and for all the support, and can't wait for you to hear the new music.
No, neither can we. I'm gunning for it. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Rishi. Thank you. Bye bye
Thank you.
now.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.